Hello everyone, and welcome. I am Johnny with Talking XP, and in this video we will be going over how to make your very own character in Darrington Press's newly released TTRPG, Candela Obscura. But before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and like the video and yada yada yada. If you have any questions, also comment and I will make sure to answer them. So, with the recent release of Candela Obscura, it is high time that I make this video, in which we will be discussing how to create a character, how to create your circle, and how to finish it all off with leveling up. If you haven't yet, make sure to check out my previous videos. Those I talk about the mechanics of the game. Those are important because you need to know them in order to properly pick which abilities you want for your character. All of that aside, creating a character in Candela is actually really simple. All you have to do is choose your role and specialty, assign your action points, drive points, and resistances, and then set up the finer details like your name, style, and relationships to other circle members. Depending on your familiarity with this system, you might know that there are 5 different roles that you can choose from: the face, the muscle, the scholar, the slink, and the weird. And within each of these roles, they have 2 specialties to choose from, in total giving you 10 different options to play. And as a side note, there are plenty of interesting homebrew specialties out there to look into, and I'll link one that I actually used in one of the games that I ran. It was a daredevil specialty under the muscle. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the available roles and specialties, shall we? First up is the face, which is the type of role that excels in conversations with NPCs, whether that be persuading, misdirection, or lying. This role is best found at the front lines of the group whenever entering a social interaction. And under the face, we have specialties journalist and magician. The journalist is a bold investigator who knows how to get to the bottom of things. Their primary drive is cunning, and their abilities focus on collecting and assessing information. In Chapter 2 of Candela Obscura's stream, Nathaniel Trapp is a journalist played by Travis Willingham. You may want to play the journalist if you want to be able to spot lies, gain information that most people may not have access to, and set up impromptu press conferences to create a distraction for your circle. The magician is a talented entertainer who knows how to deflect attention and create illusions. Their primary drive is intuition, and their abilities are focused on performing and detecting tricks. In Chapter 1 of Candela, Charlotte Eves is a magician played by Anjali Bhamani, and you may want to play a magician if you want to be able to distract people with your words, escape from any restraints or grapples, change a failure to a mixed success using your cunning, or use real magic to teleport, change your appearance, levitate, and more. Moving on to the muscle role, this role excels in maneuvering through danger and, when the situation arises, fighting the danger. The muscle is best suited for leading the circle through unknown territory or into a dangerous fight. Under the muscle role, there are 2 specialties: explorer and the soldier. The explorer is a fearless daredevil who knows how to navigate difficult and dangerous environments. Their primary drive is nerve, and their abilities are focused on endurance and confronting danger. You may want to play the Explorer if you want to be able to translate ancient texts, buff your abilities by taking on marks, and using your experience to help your circle succeed. The Soldier is a trained warrior who knows how to fight and make tactical decisions. Their primary drive is intuition, and their abilities are focused on combat strategy and discipline. In Chapter 2 of the Candela series, Sean Finnerty is a soldier played by Brennan Lee Mulligan. You may want to play the soldier if you want to be skilled at range weapons and surveying, or aiding your circle members with more Candela resources, or more gear per assignment. Moving on to the Scholar, this role excels in analyzing pieces of evidence or recalling relevant information. The Scholar works best at using their education to connect the dots and solve mysteries at hand. Under the Scholar, there are 2 specialties: First off being the doctor. The doctor is a skilled physician who knows how to conduct medical procedures. Their primary drive is intuition, and their abilities are focused on the anatomy and healing. In Chapter 2 of this streamed Candela series, Jean Bassar is a doctor played by Zara Fazl. You may want to play the doctor if you want to be able to heal marks and even scars of yours or your circle members, analyzing bleed on organic matter without the risk of taking on marks, or using focus instead of strike for combat. The professor is a professional academic who knows a great deal about their chosen field of study. Their primary drive is cunning, and their abilities are focused on critical thinking and leveraging their expertise. In Chapter 1 of Candela, Howard Margrove is a professor played by Robbie Damond. You may want to play the professor if you want to create chemical concoctions with a variety of results, take failed rolls to regain drive, or give allies gilded dice when aiding them. The Slink is a role that prefers to operate in the shadows while closely observing the areas they operate in for hidden information. They also work best as the one who scouts ahead and reports back with new information, and the person that makes the tense moves without being caught. The Criminal is an accomplished outlaw who knows how to operate successfully in the underworld. Their primary drive is cunning, and their abilities are focused on street connections and nefarious activities. In Chapter 1 of Candela, Augie James is a criminal played by Ashley Johnson. You may want to play the Criminal if you want to be especially good at hiding, work well under high-stakes situations, be great at observing your surroundings, or just be well-skilled in pickpocketing and disarming enemies. The Detective is an experienced investigator who has an outside perspective on the ins and outs of the criminal world. Their primary drive is nerve, and their abilities are focused on uncovering the truth and stopping malefactors. You may want to play the Detective if you want to be able to connect clues together very well, be skilled in finding clues in a crime scene and a person that you may be secretly surveying, or be prepared to produce an item that may be useful in a pinch. And finally, the Weird role is that has a deep connection to the magic of the beyond. They use this connection to gain additional knowledge into phenomena to then aid the investigation in ways that aren't readily available to the average person. Under the Weird, we have the Medium specialty that is an adept psychic who knows how to commune with the otherworldly. Their primary drive is intuition, and their abilities are focused on divination and connecting with spirits. In Chapter 2 of the Candela series, Marion Collodi was a medium played by Luis Carrazzo. You may want to play the Medium if you want to have minor telekinetic powers, the ability to see the future in order to aid an ally from taking a mark, sense what a corpse had seen just before death, or the ability to speak to sentient phenomena. The Occultist is a highly studied practitioner of the mystic arts who has fundamental knowledge of the supernatural. Their primary drive is intuition, and their abilities are focused on rituals and knowledge of the arcane. In Chapter 1 of Candela, Arlo Black is an occultist played by Laura Bailey. You might want to play an occultist if you want to be really good at sensing information about phenomena, or have the ability to strike invisible or ethereal enemies, call forth and force a phenomenon to approach you, or the ability to perform a dangerous ritual that can change your environment, conjure a phenomenon, or even save a dying person. So, now that we know the roles and specialties, let's pick whichever one best fits the type of character you want to play. For my example, I'm going to be using a muscle role and explorer specialty. So after choosing your role and specialty, you determine your action ratings, which depend on the specialty that you chose. Here is a list of the set action ratings. Feel free to pause here and write these down. But when you have those down, you now choose one of the actions that doesn't have any points and add 1 point to it. And finally, you get to place 3 points into whichever actions you choose. However, these points cannot exceed 2 points in one action. So with your action ratings finalized, now we determine your drive points, which are also based on the specialty that you chose. Again, here is a list of the drive point requirements for each specialty, so go ahead and pause to note these down. Then, once you're done with those, you may place 6 additional drive points in any other places to a maximum of 6 points in any one drive. After the drive points are placed, each block of 3 drive points give you 1 resistance in that drive. So for example, if you have 3 drive points in Cunning, that would give you 1 resistance in Cunning. If you have 6 drive points in Intuition, that would give you 2 resistances for Intuition. 1 or 2 drive points do not give you any resistances, and 4 and 5 do not give you 2. Now we guild our actions. So you will gain 2 gilded actions, the first of which is always based on your specialty. This is a list of those gilded actions that are based on the specialty, so go ahead and pause and jot yours down, and then you are able to gild an additional action of your choice. But make sure to gild an action that your character will hopefully use often, because gilded dice are one of the only few ways to gain back your drive points, and you will be using drive points very often. After figuring out your action points, drive points, resistances, and gilded actions, you now get to choose one of your role abilities and your specialist abilities. These abilities differ from each role and specialty. There are far too many for me to go over in this video, but I will be making more videos where I focus on each role and their specialties, so keep a lookout for those videos coming soon. For my Explorer, I'm going to choose the Muscles Adrenaline Rush ability. That allows me to immediately refresh a drive point of my choice whenever I take a mark. And I will be taking the Explorer's Tenacious ability that allows me to gild an additional die on move, strike, and control rolls when I have 1 or more bleed marks and while I'm in danger. After choosing your abilities, you finish up your character by adding the smaller details, starting with their name, pronouns, and style. For my Explorer, his name will be Todd Schilling, pronouns he, him, and he usually is wearing a dirty button-down shirt that is usually opened up, revealing an equally dirtied tank top. He wears cargo pants and military boots, mainly for necessity for his job of researching the battlegrounds of the Great War. Then you will go a little deeper to describe their catalyst, which is the event that caused them to join Candela Obscura. Todd's catalyst happened when he was exploring an old infirmary from the Great War. Rumors had said that every person within this infirmary disappeared one day, never to be seen again. As Todd entered the site with his crew, they felt an odd tinge in the air, something Todd now understands as magic. A few hours passed until the crew unearthed a perfectly shaped obsidian cube marked with unknown writing. A moment later, the crew had disappeared. Todd had randomly found himself back in the site, though surrounded by people with strange devices and instruments. Candela Obscura had come quickly to investigate this surge in the magic, and for Todd, it only passed by a second. But for the real world, nearly a week had gone by. Candela Obscura informed Todd that his crew members were still missing, and that the Great War and its battlegrounds were filled with phenomena just like this. Since then, Todd swore that he would work under Candela Obscura to find his crew and bring them back wherever they might have gone. For any that watched the stream, I won't go into any spoilers, but Augie James's Catalyst event was the event that happened in the very beginning of Chapter 1, Episode 1. If you're interested or you need some inspiration for your character, I suggest you go and watch their YouTube videos. They're great. After the Catalyst, you must come up with a question your character aims to answer during their work with Candela Obscura. What grand or personal mystery do they hope to answer throughout their investigations? With Todd's Catalyst, the question he wants to answer is, where is the rest of my crew? Once you get those details ironed out, you now get to work with the other players of your circle to come up with your relationships. These connections can be jotted down in the relationships section of the character sheet. That's on the right side. If you're having trouble coming up with any of your connections between your characters, there are lists of questions that you can use from the Candela book from page 34 to 37. For our character, Todd's first connection could be another player's character who was at Todd's reappearance, and they could be his mentor in all things Candela Obscura. For that, I would put the character's name on the left and mentor on the right. Now your character is complete. The only thing left is to create your circle. For this, you must collectively pick the circle's name, which is typically the circle of so-and-so. Next, you must pick your circle's ability. There are 6 circle abilities that you can choose from. First of all, starting with stamina training, which allows your circle to have 3 gilded die at the beginning of each assignment they take. You and your circle members can add these gilded die to any roll, though once you use them, they are expended until the next investigation. Next, we have Nobody Left Behind, which, whenever a member of your circle takes a scar and drops incapacitated, if any player attempts to protect them or get them to safety, all of those rolls are made with an additional die. Next, In This Together, when you spend a drive to help another circle member with a roll, should that circle member fail that roll, you both earn 1 drive point of your choice. Interdisciplinary is when you're choosing a new ability during the character advancement stage. Once per campaign, each circle member can choose an ability from a different character role or specialty outside of their own to add to their character. Which means that as the explorer, I could then pick the prestige from the magician and be able to teleport a short distance while taking a mark of bleed. Next, we have resource management. When your circle hits a milestone on the Illumination tracker, your circle can gain back 1 stitch, 1 refresh, or 1 train resource. And finally, one last run. When selecting this circle ability, the next assignment your circle takes will be their last. When you take this ability as the character advancement ability, you may take all 4 options during your advancement instead of only the 2. But more about character advancement later. As for Candela Obscura's resources, when starting your circle, you begin with an amount of resource points equal to the number of circle members plus 1. The resources will not refresh until the illumination track is completely filled, which is typically about every 4 assignments. Between each assignment, you have the chance to use these resources to clear your marks, refresh your drives and resistances, and train your characters. Stitch heals all of one player's marks, Refresh fills all of one player's drives and resistances, and Train gives one player a single bonus die that can be used on any roll in the next session. Once you set your resources, you and your circle members must establish a shared history together. You can find a list of circle questions on page 39. These questions are here to spark a discussion of where your circle members may have met, their collective goals, or any past experiences they've had together as a circle. Whichever way you approach this, feel free to just use your own creative process to come up with these conclusions. These are only here to start the conversation. But we finally move on to the last step, which is choosing your chapter house. Your chapter house is the place where your circle members come to debrief about previous assignments, read literature that may pertain to their current assignment, or use their Candela Obscura resources to prepare for their next assignment, among other things. This chapter house can be anything from a townhouse in the eaves to a seemingly empty office found in the Red Lamp district. Find what is unique about your circle members and come together to create something that is best fitting for your group. Now that we have established our characters and have created our circle, let's talk about character advancement. To keep track of when your circle advances, you will be jotting down illuminations on the illumination tracker. These are gained from answering 4 questions at the end of each assignment. These questions are: first, did they contain or destroy a source of bleed? Did they provide comfort or support for those affected? And did they bring something of importance back for Candela Obscura to study? For each yes of these 3 questions, the circle will add 1 illumination point to their illumination tracker. Then, after taking those first 3 points, you will now ask each player whether they fulfilled at least 1 of their illumination keys during the assignment. Illumination keys are roleplay goals that are set depending on the specialty that you have chosen. Here is a list of the illumination keys for each specialty. These will also be seen at the bottom of your character sheet. If none of them have fulfilled their illumination keys, 0 illumination points are awarded. If some but not all finish their illumination keys, 2 illumination points are awarded, and if all players finished at least 1 illumination key, 4 points are awarded. For every 7 illumination points, you get to a milestone, which are the 3 bolded circles. These are really only important for resource management circle ability, otherwise you can pretty much ignore them. When a circle reaches the end of the illumination tracker, the sort of S shape at the top, they level up. For each advancement, the circle can choose a new circle ability, and then each character can choose 2 of the 4 options available to them. Adding 1 action point to any action, adding 2 drive points to any drive, taking a new ability, and gilding an additional action. Your Candela Obscura resources then refresh their resource points, and you are on to the next investigation. And with that, you are now ready to start your first assignment in Candela Obscura. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found value in this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and commenting with any questions that you may have. And also make sure to send this to your other players so they understand what they're getting themselves into. If you are interested in seeing examples of how Candela Obscura is run, check out Critical Role's videos on YouTube, as well as my own in this playlist on YouTube. But with that all aside, thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a lot of fun playing Candela Obscura.